Now, President Obama called House Speaker John Boehner and Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell today to discuss the Syrian crisis and the potential military response. But the big question is whether the White House needs congressional approval before it acts. Take a listen to what then-candidate Obama said back in 2007.
After Vietnam, Congress swore it would never again be duped into war, and even wrote a new law, the War Powers Act, to ensure it would not repeat its mistakes. But no law can force a Congress to stand up to the president. No law can make senators read the intelligence that showed the president was overstating the case for war. No law can give Congress a backbone if it refuses to stand up as the co-equal branch the Constitution made it.
All right, well, Mr. President, now more than 150 House members, including at least 80 Democrats, are showing that very backbone, writing this letter saying congressional approval is in fact needed for military action in Syria. So let's talk. Joining us now, the man who spearheaded this effort, House member Scott Rigell, Republican from Virginia, and one of his Democratic co-signers, Zoe Lofgren from California. Thank you to both of you. Scott, let me begin with you. David Cameron, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, just lost a close vote in Parliament on the Syrian military attacks. Is that the position you want to put President Obama in, or are you going for something different here?
Well, Larry, we're really going for the president slowing down a bit, following the Constitution, and if he believes that the use of force is both warranted and imminent, first coming to Congress, and I don't think you could have given us a better introduction than the president's own words. And this initiative that we're all part of, I appreciate Zoe, my colleague, joining us in this. It's not a partisan issue. It is a bipartisan effort to really have the president slow down a bit and do what we think is certainly the right thing in the constitutional mandate, and that is to come first to this body, seek and receive authorization before applying military force in Syria.
Ms. Lofgren, by the way, welcome to the Color Report. Tell me what specifically you'd like to see in a letter or a document that would go to the president. What would you like to hear, see, look at, whatever?
Well, the president needs a vote under the War Powers Act, as he himself noted, and I would note that Vice President Biden had the same opinion. And I guess I'm quite skeptical about the idea of still another war in the Middle East, but certainly the Congress needs to hear from the president. We need to see his facts, hear what his plan is, why this is good for the United States, why it would be good for the world, what the end game is, and so forth. So that hasn't happened. Not only does the law require this, but clearly the situation in our country requires it. People in the country are weary of war. The polls show they don't want to do this.
No,
so the president needs to convince us if it's what we need to do.
And I think the shadow of Iraq hangs over this, and I understand that perfectly well. What I'm suggesting, though, is doesn't the president have a 90-day leeway period under the War Powers Act?
No.
Doesn't he have that?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. I've actually posted the War Powers Act on my website. I invite people to read it. There are 3 instances when the president can act unilaterally. Not unilaterally, when the president can bring us to war. When there's a declaration, when there's statutory authority, or when the U.S. is attacked. We've not been attacked. We've not declared a declaration of war, and he needs to come for statutory authority. The reporting requirements are after those predicates have been met. And in fact, later in the document, you can read it, it says nothing in the reporting relieves the president from complying with the law. Either we're attacked or he gets authorization.
All right. Scott, look, from what I gather, Speaker Boehner basically agrees with what both of you are saying. I don't see much daylight.
No, there's a difference here, Larry, and it's an important one. I respect what the Speaker's been doing, and he has ratcheted up his the level of accountability that he's asking from the president. But what we're saying is that the president must seek and obtain not just consultation, that's a good thing, but specific statutory authority. That is a specific up or down vote in both houses. And given what I know now, right now, my vote would be no. But I would also enter into a joint session that the president can and should call us into if he thinks the use of force is imminent. I would go into there with an open mind. I am open to new information, but given what I know now, my vote would be no.
What about, let me just, I don't want to defend or not defend here. I don't want to do pro and con because I'm as skeptical as some of this as both of you are. But I think the argument is going to be made, Scott, by the White House, by the president, that if something isn't done to Syria, I don't think it's enough, but whatever. He's going to say that. He needs to do this, to fire a shot across the bow, to stop what will become a regional conflagration, Turkey, Israel, Jordan, and of course Syria and Lebanon and Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran. He's going to say it's going to be a regional conflagration. Our great ally Israel will be deeply involved in this. And in order to keep world peace and in order to enforce the laws of humanity, we have to do this, we being the United States government. Is that satisfactory to you? Or do you want something else?
They are all noble objectives, I think, shared by, I'm thinking, every member of Congress. But absent a specific statutory authority, should the president proceed under those grounds and apply U.S. force here without that statutory authority, I truly believe it's unconstitutional.
All right, so you want a piece of legislation? And you want to vote on the legislation up or down whether or not to engage in this military. I just want to make this simple.
Absolutely. For me, I'm speaking for me, absolutely. And that's what we said in our letter that 140 members signed on, including 21 of my Democratic colleagues.
Ms. Lofgren?
Well, and I would note that Barbara Lee also has a letter that's somewhat different but makes the same point, that a vote is required. So if you add up all the signatures, it's 185 members of Congress who signed that in about 24 hours, which is extraordinary. Right. My guess is that a clear majority of the House is of that opinion.
All right. No, this is big news. There's no question about it. It's big news, particularly with David Cameron in London losing parliamentary vote. So now we're coming here to see. All right. Thanks to both of you, House members Scott Rigell and Zoe Lofgren. I appreciate it.